there's a microphone right there to catch the last gurgles, and Technicolor to photograph the red swollen tongue.
Hey, Vern.
Future events such as these
Anglin?
will affect you in the future.
Damn you, Rabbit! You smell like fucking piss!
You're watching The Projectors.
Hell yeah!
A film fan program discussing a variety of movies from history and around the world.
What do you think of this boner I got?
Featuring your hosts, Bob Sham.
When you're Scandinavian, flopping out your mommy milkers is nothing.
And Angela.
If they were just gun perverts, this would be fine.
Party!
Thank you for selecting The Projectors.
I want French pancakes like at IHOP.
And now a preview of our film discussion.
Mais qu'est-ce que c'est que ça? Il se passe quoi là? Vous faisiez quoi à la guerre?
On va danser au concours!
Je danse avec vous. Quoi?
Oh mais les gens ils t'ont grave kiffé que tu vois tous les likes qu'on a eu.
Vous savez où passe l'esprit du mal? Ce sont ces femmes dénudées.
Pour le mariage de ton père. Regarde comment elle te va. Tu es une femme maintenant.
T'étais où là? T'as foutu quoi?
J'étais en retard.
En retard? Je suis désolée.
Me dis pas.
Non, tu l'as volé? Oh la dégueulasse, j'y crois pas!
À quoi tu joues là, ami? Qui es-tu, ami? Laisse couler l'eau, ma chérie. Les péchés s'effacent avec.
Vous avez quel âge?
Non, 14. You look very cute.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I feel all right. I definitely have a post-Valentine's plot to be hitting my body.
Mine is...
With a bag of oranges. That's the new weight loss thing it's about to pop off. If you just beat yourself with a bag of oranges, you'll lose weight.
Okay.
You got to be careful for internal bleeding. Rich people have other people beat them with the oranges. We're just working class folk, though.
I have a plan for when I get home from my trip.
Yeah, I hear you. It's got to be post-vacation, right? Today's discussion, when I did some research and was looking up movies, I picked this movie without knowing that there was a bunch of drama behind it. And so I kept it at arm's length until after I watched the movie. And then after I watched the movie and I dove into the drama of it, when I went to go seek something that I felt like, oh, this is going to be real good, a good stupid statement, I just felt like burnt out on it because I can't really give that much voice to people who are too stupid to understand art. You know what I'm saying? Or even if it's up for interpretation, but are just too stupid. And with conservative reactions to things, a lot of time it's just like I just don't believe them, right? Like I don't believe that they give a fuck. Everything is just to serve the bitching, right? Like no one, like they have to pretend like they care about the roots of a Disney cartoon or the folklore of something when the reality is they never thought about this shit for more than 30 seconds their whole fucking life.
There are just some people who, in the name of a god or morality or whatever, are trying to make things difficult on everyone else. When I was in the 9th grade, we were supposed to read I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. And everyone in the class did, except one fucking girl, because her preacher protested because they said, and get this is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life, that I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings was essentially child pornography. Okay, that is the most incorrect statement in the world.
Well, thank you for clarifying.
It
should go without saying that it's not.
I know, but it's just one of those things where it's like, if you don't know that story, you should. But she describes being a young girl.
It's a poem.
Being raped. It's not even that graphic. But because a young girl is raped in this book, they said she couldn't read it because it was against her moral Christian standards.
You know, to assume that the conservative reaction to things is just more bad faith and cynical in that way is actually probably something that is, I'm probably being polite to them when I think that, because the other aspect is that you're too fucking stupid to actually understand what you sat through. And you just saw a buzzword, and instead of actually thinking about it or thinking about the way it made you feel, you just reacted like a fucking moron. And I think that's probably what happened in your classroom in particular in that day regarding that very well-tread poem that everyone had read 8 million times before even that occurred. So even though there's like a blip there, for all the politicians that made hay about Cuties when it hit Netflix, and apparently Netflix lost subscribers because of the reaction, but I think it all like balanced out over time. Like, I don't even think it matters anymore. And certain state governments were trying to assert some kind of like bring it before committees and stuff. But of course, they all threw their charges out because the movie exists under First Amendment protections. It is a presentation of art. So when senators like Josh Hawley and then other people like, I think Nancy Pelosi's daughter weighed in on how awful the movie was. And I don't know, any Pelosi at this point, if you're like, I really love those Pelosi's, like,
get out of here.
Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? These are just like the drones, man. That is just like, it's just D-Team and MSNBC is the way I think about it. Like, but then to have like Pelosi's kid, and every time her kid ever says anything, it's the dumbest shit possible. She also came out against this movie, but I have to assume ultimately that people like Josh Hawley, and the Pelosi family, that when they saw these little girls shaking their body, they got turned on. I have to assume that they have this sense of pedophilia deep inside of them, and they don't know how to handle their feelings. They're not like us.
They not like us.
Who can exist around children without wanting to fuck them. Maybe it's just something that is just churning deep inside of them. And, yeah, that's really the only, if they're sincere about it at all, that's probably the reason.
Well, okay.
They're pedophiles. They're all pedophiles.
I'm assuming that a lot of people who spoke out against this movie either did not see it at all.
I think there's a lot of that. Always a lot of that.
Or only saw clips of dance routines.
But it's not to say that this movie isn't attempting to provoke.
It is absolutely attempting to provoke.
It's not that this movie is without provocation. And I want to move along to the reactive argument around this. But before I move on, I read somebody's blog about this shit like a month ago. Mm-hmm. And I cannot find it. I'll try to find it. But the funniest line I heard in the deluge of people on the internet talking about movies or blogging about movies, we're a part of that, I guess, that I read this line that some blogger movie file wrote, and it said, "I'm from New Orleans. I've seen little girls twerk." I don't know what else they were going to say after that.
Doesn't matter.
But I stopped at that sentence just laughing my ass off. Cuties.
Yes.
Mignonnes. I think that's how you pronounce.
I think it's like
the alternate title. Mignonnes. From 2020, directed by Mamouna Doucouré, who is Senegalese, but from France. Written by Mamouna Doucouré, she wrote it. Starring Fatia Youssef, Medina El Adeyouzuni, Mamouna Gaye, Mbessi Therese Diop. Forgive me, I probably messed those up. Cinematography by Jan Moritad. Music by Nico Noki. This is from France, like the Coneheads. This comes from France.
I would like to give you props for trying to say these names. We want to acknowledge these people, even if we don't know the correct way to say their names. So we're not going to just skip over it, even if you're butchering it.
Well, I find that my pronunciation of names is all over the map. Like I will tank it a lot, and then there will be one time where it's like I sound like I might be from that country.
Sure.
Maybe I'm giving myself too much credit.
Yeah, you are.
But I feel like I got a grip on Mamouna Doucouré and Fatia Youssef. I feel like I got those names. I feel like I got those names down. And yet the Italian names we were talking about like a few weeks ago, I'm like, Bacchero Rose, Baguette Core.
Okay.
You know. All right. So this young girl, she's in a religious family. The Senegalese version of Islam is interesting. It kind of reminds me of like when you encounter those more Orthodox Christianities that are specific to certain countries. It kind of seems like Senegal has its own like special edition of Islam.
Yeah.
Like how the Greeks and the Russians and the Ethiopians who will have their own Christianity and shit. She lives in this immigrant community in this home where a lot of Senegalese people are, and it's a very traditional household. And we hear about her mother. Her father's gone, and she doesn't want the father to come home.
Because she finds out that the father has taken another wife. And the way that scene where she hears her mother.
She's under the bed and she hears the mother talking, and she hears the mother go back and forth between putting on that face and then like breaking down because she does not want to be in a polygamous household.
My husband has taken a second wife. Mm-hmm.
Because so you get 3 generations of these women in this family. There's also a little brother who's a cutie patootie, and their relationship is sweet.
Maybe one of the best little brother depictions I've seen in a movie, right?
For sure. But you get these 3 generations. You've got this like auntie who is straight by the line. She's the one telling the mom, you have to call everyone and tell them that your husband is bringing home a new wife and that you are excited about it. Because if you don't, everyone's going to talk bad about you. Don't understand that aspect of it, but she has to like announce it to everyone. And so she is all in that she's married to this man. This is her religion, right? But she's struggling with that because of her husband bringing home this new wife is difficult for her to deal with. We see her or hear her breaking down. That scene's so interesting to me because like you said, the girl's under the bed. So we're just seeing the mom's feet. And I noticed at the beginning when she was talking as though she was okay, but her foot was shaking. You know, it's a
good scene.
A good scene. And then you have this young girl who is trying to figure out who she is between school and friends and her religious family.
So the girl is
Ami,
I believe they pronounce it.
Yes, Ami.
She goes into the laundry room of this shared building, and this girl who's constantly has the midriff, all that shit, and like
midriff, I think is
midriff. Is that what they call it?
I think so. Midriff, I don't think is a thing.
Has it been called mid-drift this whole time?
I could be wrong, I guess.
Mid-riff. I guess mid-rift makes more sense because it's the rift, it's like the absence of the shirt. Anyway, she sees this girl dancing around. The girl sees her watching her and gets weird, and she takes off. She goes to school with this group of girls. What is it?
You're correct. I'm wrong.
Wow, all this time.
I've thought it was together for my whole life.
Well, you can learn a thing or two from me.
Obviously. Keep going. Tell me about being a young girl.
Yeah, anyway, I know all about this shit. It's pronounced girl. She sees that girl that was dancing in the laundry room with these girls, and when we meet them, it's really funny because they do this like pose thing, and it seems like that they have talked a lot of the other kids in the area to just freeze. So they're like, and then they freeze, and then the teacher comes out and just sees all these children just in these like fashion poses just stopped.
They're playing they're like pranking.
It looks very surreal. This movie seems to play with surreal moments, not necessarily like surreal for surreal's sake, but it does appear that way. But there is purpose to it. Like, I think what we will discuss a little later feels more like a haunting. She's becoming more and more connected with this crew, and they actually catch the Cuties. They've just formed this little side girl posse, mean girl posse of 11 or 12 years olds, right?
They're a little dance group.
Yeah.
And they're preparing for this competition.
And they catch her spying on them, and they throw rocks at her, and they figure out who she is later because she's got like a wound from the rock.
Yeah, and the parts where she's trying to integrate herself into their group was so well done. Because I know what that feels like to not be part of the group, but be kind of just on the edge of it. And maybe you talk to one person when no one else is around and you're trying to be like, oh, I'm cool. Like she's like hovering around them sometimes, like just trying to like comment on what they're doing. And when they notice her, at first they're mean. and they pick on her and they know it's her and they're almost like beating her up. But the one girl does come. Angelica will come to her rescue almost.
She reaches out and they kind of are able to form together. But Ami, as she gets ingratiated into this group, is that the right word?
Sure. Integrated.
I wonder what ingratiated
I think ingratiated is something to do with gracious, like you're.
I don't know. Look it up. I gotta know.
Oh my God.
I have to know.
This is the vocabulary episode. Ingratiated. Gain favor, acceptance by making a deliberate effort.
Yeah, it was the appropriate word after all. I know the words fit, even though if I don't always understand if they're the right words.
That happens to me too, especially with big words. I'm like, I know this is how this goes. So I just go with it.
Our little thing that I put for our descriptor for our movie show is that we're not too dumb and we're not too smart. We're just right.
So she wants to dance like them, but and dress like them because they are all like the midriff shirts and tight skirts.
She steals her cousin's cell phone, and that's how she can engage with them and record them and know the things that they like and the videos that they watch.
And she starts a social media account so that she can
This cousin, it's like,
stuff.
If you lose your phone, especially after some days, call the company, cut it off, and get a new phone.
I don't know. He does say later that they looked for it for a long time and all that, but you're right. Cut it off, get a new phone. Anyway, that was dumb. Yeah, she's using this phone. She's got it.
It wasn't locked either.
It wasn't locked, and she stole it.
Yeah, she stole it from her
So
cousin.
this was one of her first things where she stole. She starts hiding clothes places outside of her home so she can change clothes before she goes into work. She's stealing her brother's little t-shirts because they show her midriff, and I'm going to use it like 20 times now. It's so sweet when you see her in the bathroom trying to learn the dance moves, because at one point when Angie's trying to be like, she's cool, she has her record them doing their routine so that they can watch back and they can post it on socials because they want to go do this competition and win.
She's practicing and she doesn't know it.
No one knows it, but she's
supposed
in her
to be
bathroom.
the cam girl. She's supposed to be like their street team, essentially.
I guess, yeah. And yeah, she's in her bathroom practicing at night. She has to go in there and lock the door because if her mom knew she was dancing, she might get in trouble. Like, what are you doing? She has to share a room with her little brother, too, so she doesn't even have, like, a room that she can go to. So she has to, like, hide in her bathroom.
I also want to point out that to watch this movie, I had to kind of...
Yes.
I don't do torrents, so I had to kind of figure out how to find this movie because Netflix took it down. They still advertise that the movie is on there when you search it.
Yeah.
Even though it's not. Conservative politicians like Josh Hawley, known pedophiles like that, and the Pelosi family, who are also all pedophiles... They did successfully, like, get it taken down off of Netflix, and I'm sure it's playing in Europe and shit on Netflix accounts over there. But as of right now, this is a rather hard movie to find in the United States.
Very, very hard.
So I kind of had to dig through and like link up some fucking audio. This just ends up being, even though this movie had a very high profile for a dumb reason, it really is a deep cut.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, good luck finding this movie. Unless you're good at torrents. I don't fuck with them.
As we go along, I can't remember what the one girl does for them to kick her out. Oh, they're boy crazy. As you are. They're 11, right? This is this weird time for everyone, but especially young girls, when you're not a little kid anymore and you want to be a woman, but you're definitely not a woman either. And you want to flirt. In middle school, had this group of friends, and we would have sleepovers, and we would all night long call this one DJ and talk to him and request songs and act like we were way older than we were. There was 3 of us. And
what station? The Buzz?
I don't remember.
Could you play the new Cracker song?
We were asking for things like Cyndi Lauper's Time After Time. Okay. I'm a little older, but...
yeah, okay.
But no, we were
I was trying to remember the big Cracker songs of the day.
Yeah, I don't.
Does anyone remember the Cracker?
I don't know.
The band Cracker?
Hey, was it like Uncle Cracker?
Don't you want to go? There was an Uncle Cracker, but I'm thinking of like this alternative
I don't know.
band named Cracker.
Hey, don't you want to go down?
No, I don't know that song. So yeah, so we would do shit like this. So they are catfishing this dude, saying that they're older, and they're passing around the computer to type things in, and then one of the girls turns on the video. And so he sees Angie, and she gets so mad and embarrassed, and he's like, "Oh, you're a fucking kid," you know? And so they kick her out of the group, and they're like, "We're not going to be able to go in this competition." And this scene, okay, backing up just a little bit, because it's important that we preface that they make fun of her at one point because Ami doesn't have a butt. Okay, she's a little flat in the rear. So, like you go on the internet and you look up big butts, right? And you start looking at everyone's butts. Okay, realness, as I was developing, my boobs were off, they're lopsided. My boobs are lopsided. Anybody can, if you really look at me, you can tell. My boobs are lopsided. So as I was developing, I became obsessed with boobs. I was staring at everyone's boobs. I understand this girl. She was like looking at everyone's
This was a great
butts
scene. She's just looking at everyone's giant ass.
She's looking at everyone's asses, and then you also see her. She's looking at all their asses at church or at the service they're at. And then all the women are around her praying. And she goes up inside of her covering, and she's watching strippers on her phone.
Yeah.
And she's seeing them do all these like super sexy dances. This is who she wants to be.
You know what's interesting about her, and she herself, as far as her personal interest, does not appear to be very sexual.
No.
But the world that she's trying to navigate is a very sexualized world. Mm-hmm. Like, believe it or not, people who are mad at this movie. Yeah, the director is also making a point about over-sexualization.
This is real. This is so real.
And so it's very interesting in that the other girls are super boy crazy and they try to get her to do stuff, but she's not automatically at this point in her life being drawn to boys.
No.
She's drawn to the lives of these young girls and the friendships and the things that they're into.
She wants to be accepted. She wants to be in the dance group. She wants to belong.
So she's not actually thinking of it in a sense of sexuality. How do I attract boys or get people to like me?
Not at all.
It's to her, it's almost like a math problem. Oh, I have to do this because this is the answer to this and this will result in that. And there's at one point where pretty into the movie, she's well into the group, where her cousin finds her with her phone. He knows instantly it's his phone because he knows she's not supposed to have a phone, or fucking conservative parents or family is not going to let her have that phone. So he takes it back. Well, she bites him or something and wrestles the phone back, and she goes into the bathroom.
You don't see anything, by the way.
Yeah, you don't see anything. But she decides before, in a sense of desperation, it's about to all go. And she's become a real bad kid at this point, too.
Yes, she's been getting in fights. And this is a direct response to everyone calling her a little baby, because she got in a fight and someone pulled her pants down and she had little girl underwear on.
Yeah, when she was trying to really fit in and she got embarrassed. So she's in the bathroom and she decides to take a picture of her privates, basically.
And post them on her social media.
And immediately post them on social media. And that is that is what I'm talking about. She doesn't have that connection. If she was really trying to really romantically attract something, she would have the self-conscious thing hit her. She's not at that specific point in her life, but everything around her and that she's seeing is so sexualized. She doesn't have that connection that would make her very shy about it. She's
Absolutely.
I have to do this because I might lose this phone and this is all I got left.
And it's like a Hail Mary. When she gets in the band, this is an important scene too, or the group, is she and Angelica are sitting in a dryer. I love this image. I think you used it in the preview for this month. She says, "Hey, I could be in the dance crew." And Angelica's like, "You can't dance." They've never even seen her dance. She gets up and she does the routine. And Angelica's like, "Well, I just don't know if the girls are still going to want you, but obviously you know all the moves." She starts doing the stripper moves because she knows that that's what people like, right?
And what they like.
And yes, but it's heightened from what they're doing. And then there's this whole montage where she's teaching them how to gyrate their hips, how to twerk, how to and it's all so sexual. But that's the whole thing of it. Like you said, they're doing it because they think it's going to make them better dancers. They're not doing it because they want to fuck anybody. Also, that scene where the cousin takes the phone, there's this moment before she goes into the bathroom where she is trying to say to him, "No, just let me keep it. Just let me keep it." And in a desperate move, before she goes into the bathroom and does the picture, she actually starts to unbutton her pants.
Right.
Because I think that she thinks, well, maybe, I mean, he's a boy and I'm a girl, but it's so innocent. Like, she doesn't even look, she's not seductive.
And he's like,
she doesn't look like she wants anything.
And he's like, what are you doing?
It's kind of just like, well, I mean, you can, if you want to do stuff to me, you can let me keep the phone. Like, I don't know. It's so fucked up, but it's also, she's confused.
Before the cousin in the bathroom scene, it's like the movie does amp up in its provocation here.
Yeah.
Because before that, they sneak into a laser tag place and they get caught. And this guy should have just been like, just leave. Don't try to call everyone's parents.
I know.
To wrangle, the $20 it costs to do a round of laser tag. But Ami, she manages to convince the rest of the group that she's got moves. Angelica already kind of knows. Doing these twerk moves in front of these two employees. And the one guy who's trying to contact their parents are like, oh my God, I can't do this. But there's another guy that seems to actually be responding to it. And Mamuna and Dakuri, she understands that she's actually tackling it from every angle. The idea of that the leering aspect of it, she is also provoking here intently to try to make you very uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
And from this scene on to the points of when we get to the cousin bathroom scene is designed for just that. Like, you're not supposed to be able to make sense of it. It's supposed to be just disturbing. And Ami, at this point, you kind of understand at this point, she's become such a terrible kid because she doesn't understand that balance between her old world and where she's at. She's gone to such an extremity that you understand why Angelica and the other girls start to turn against her as well.
What ends up happening is, they kick her out of the band and bring the other girl back, the original girl back, because she posted this picture. Everyone now is calling her a whore and a slut, and they're calling the other girls that too. So they're basically say to her, we cannot associate with you. And this is where she becomes desperate. And I also so understand this. I know I keep telling these personal stories, but this movie hit me so hard. I had a friend when I was younger, and she ended up being a bully, but we were best friends. And I became obsessed with her when she didn't want to be my friend anymore. I couldn't think about anything else. And I think about this and I cringe so hard, right? But there was this moment I remember we were on a school choir trip. And I just was watching her and the other two girls and just staring at her I don't understand you. I just don't get it. But it was so intense because I was 13, 14 years old.
You got broken up with, basically.
It was. It really was. It was I was obsessed with her, cried all the time. And then they started bullying me, whatever. It's fine. I get it. It was weird. But I couldn't understand the feelings I was feeling and how to parse them. I became obsessed, much like Ami does here, where she's begging them and crying and no, you have to let me in. And she's grabbing them even and trying to physically keep Angelica places to talk to her.
Before we get to the climax of this movie, the end, I want to talk about she's given this dress. Objectively, it's a beautiful dress. It's a Senegalese dress that she's supposed to wear to her father's wedding to her second mom.
She loves it until she knows that's what it's for.
But there are points where the haunted moments, the surreal moments I was talking about earlier are centered around this dress. She starts her period in this movie, and it's foreboding when she looks at the dress and the red flowers on this dress start to drip like a blood, which I thought was really cool idea.
It was really
There's
cool.
a lot of the cinematography in this movie I think is actually quite good. And there's another part where she's looking at the dress in the closet and she sees the dress start to expand like it's being filled out by a woman's body.
Yes.
And so she is just haunted
truly just by how old she is, the age she's at, what she's dealing with. Historically, when people have always thought, when people think girls are possessed, it is when they are hitting puberty. That is a thing that has happened all over the world. Because you go crazy with the hormones and stuff, and they would think that you're possessed, try to exorcise you at that time. There's also that. There is this mystical bit to it. But that if you're acting out in a bad way, it's almost like demons of puberty have a hold of you.
And she is so desperate to be in this dance troupe that she's been kicked out of that she stalks the chubby girl, pushes her into a fucking canal. And she shows up at the dance meet, and she meets the girls. She already has the outfit because she was going to be in the group until they kicked her out. And then, but the other girl is gone, so Angelica's like, she knows all the moves. I mean, we might as well just do it. And I think what's really funny, and this is very obvious when they get up to do their performance, is that they're not very good, right?
No.
So they get up and they do this performance that is laced with what they like to watch and the shit that Ami had watched the stripper do. And they start doing their super twerky, ultra sexualized group routine. And the audience is generally just turned off by it completely, with the exception of like one or two weirdos, right?
Which is what would be. It's like they're the creepy guys who don't have kids but go to like children's pageants.
But while they're doing the routine, Ami, and it's very funny because they somehow, Ami keeps missing when they actually do perform, right?
Their audition, she wasn't at.
She's late for the audition, which they somehow got in. I guess it must be a very entry-level competition. Ami is able to not make it at every, like, performance thing. When she finally makes it, then she has, like, a freeze-out moment, and she is imagining, like, centuries of Senegalese women in her life, in her family tree, are probably all the ghosts. You don't see them, are probably entering her body right now. And she just freezes and starts crying. And she just takes the fuck off running. And she runs to the arms of her mother. She's supposed to be there that day. She's skipping her father's wedding. And I love that we never see the father.
Me too.
Like, that's so great.
And the new wife, we never see them.
And the grandmother, the auntie character, she presents a very, like, she's wise in one moment, but also just stubbornly old school in other moments. And when she's getting mad at Ami at this point, when she shows up crying, dressed like she is, like you know, like the Amber Alert fashion dance girls or some shit, whatever you call it, that she starts scolding. And that's when the mother, who has been frustrated with her so much, tells her to stop.
That's enough, leave her alone.
She brings her in and she embraces her daughter. And it's a beautiful fucking scene. You could see, like, right above your head. She's got her full Senegalese. I mean, she looks beautiful.
Gorgeous.
The mother looks beautiful, even though this is a process that she doesn't even want to go through. But she, regardless, looks stunning. And so she's holding her daughter and taking her daughter in. And the thing that Ami needed this whole time was this balance, right? A balance between, but it got confused. She just goes from these extremities, and then at the end of the movie, her hair's just looser, but she has like a shirt that covers her. She just, at the end of the movie, she just looks like a normal girl, and she goes out, and she's finally found that balance between, because her mother knows that she's not going to be like her.
Right.
But if she could at least not be like that, then we're going to have to accept it. That's going to have to be good enough.
Yeah.
They are in a Western country. You know, they are in France. They're in Paris, a modern city. These things are going to happen. There's going to be these things that strike a cultural balance. And as long as she's not, like, you know, in the mode she was before, but it just required understanding. Ultimately, the need and love of her mother, who will accept her and love her no matter what.
Absolutely. She has always sought her mother's acceptance. And her mom seemed much more keyed in at the beginning of the movie, but then her mom has been weighed down by this knowledge that the dad is coming. Like you said, one of the reasons, I mean, the woman looks beautiful regardless, but there's it's a sad beauty in this moment because she has so much weight on her and she's trying to, like, love her daughter, who she desperately does, but she's also trying to, like, deal with what she's got going on, and she doesn't want her daughter to end up like her, honestly. Like, there's that part too. Like, she knows she's not gonna be like her, but she also probably doesn't want her to be completely like her. The thing, that hit me so hard, I guess I thought in that moment, it was almost as though she seeing these people's faces reflected back to her, it's like she finally realized what she was doing. Like you said, it's like she had this like knowledge of this is where I am and what I'm doing and how did I even get here? And this isn't me. Neither one is her. Mm-hmm. Right? So yeah, when she comes out at the end with that red shirt and her hair just down, and her mom told her she didn't have to go to the wedding, so she didn't. She chose not to. So she left the dance. She didn't go to the wedding. She just went outside and she started jumping rope with these kids. And I love the last shot of this movie because she's jumping and it starts going up and up and up higher, but she stays in frame. She just keeps jumping. Yeah. And this is the only time in the movie where she looks genuinely happy. And I just started crying.
Yeah, she's very happy. She's not confused about life.
Yeah,
she's just in her moment, being a little girl.
It is a huge loss that this movie has been essentially banned from this country. It is sad.
Technically, there's nothing stopping Netflix from putting it back up. There's no law in the United States. They tried to do some legal shit, and it's under a constitutional protection. Yeah. It's just like the corporate choice to not have people upset. Which
is disappointing.
It's still cowardly.
It is totally cowardly. This big company that's like, oh, well, these, loud people's subscriptions is more important than supporting this movie and this artist. This woman is so talented. I would love to see anything else that she did. Yeah, she has a very strong voice and a strong vision.
Maimouna Decore, she's definitely on the map. We got to see what else she does and how she comes along as a filmmaker. We're going to give this 1 through 5 each, combined for best out of 10. I think I am a 4.25.
I'm giving it a 5.
A 5, huh? Wait, so it's
a 9.25.
It crawls right over S tier. Cuties / Mignonnes by Maimouna Decore. Man, it's just I'm kind of surprised it snuck right over the line. Angela really connected with it, with how she was bullied when she was a kid.
I also was told in the 5th grade that if I didn't have the word fuck in my vocabulary, I would never have a boyfriend.
How do you even remember the 5th grade?
I remember that moment.
I don't remember. I could not tell you a fucking thing about 5th grade.
I don't remember much else, but that was like a very enlightening moment for me.
So it shares the rankings with movies like Come and See, Citizen Kane, Caché. We will be revisiting Michael Haneke again soon. Bride of Frankenstein, Breathless, Brazil, Cuties. We are amongst the highest rating for this movie. We think it's good stuff. And
sorry you can't watch it if you live here.
We're not so stupid that we can't understand the movie, and we're not pedophiles like many of our American senators. Tomorrow we are discussing the film Valentine's Day. We're discussing The Photograph, which stars Issa Rae and Khalid Stanfield. So a special romantic day drop. And then we'll be getting into some neo-noir for next week. So come back then.
See y'all later.
Thank you for watching The Projectors. Click the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. We are available on YouTube and podcast. You can also support the show by liking, leaving comments, reviewing, sharing, and never questioning Bob when he claims that certain characters in movies are like autism. We love you. Goodbye.